The colony of Virelia 7 was always a place of movement and noise. Ships came and went from the orbiting stations, carrying cargo, passengers, and new settlers, eager to make a life on a distant world. Most of these settlers had already formed tight communities, sharing stories and experiences that bound them together in the vast emptiness of space. Yet, every now and then, someone arrived who made the entire colony pause and stare. Today, that someone was Lyra. She stepped off the shuttle with a quiet grace, her small frame almost blending into the crowd. Her skin had a soft, pale blue hue, and her eyes shimmered like the light of distant stars. People immediately whispered among themselves, noting how fragile she looked, how thin her arms and legs were, how she seemed like she could be blown away by a strong breeze. "She won't last a week here," some muttered. Others simply shook their heads, certain that someone so delicate could never handle the harsh life of Virelia 7. Darian was walking through the station, reviewing some shipment manifests on his tablet, when he noticed her. He didn't see what others saw. He didn't see frailty or weakness. Instead, he saw focus, awareness, and calm in a world that was anything but calm. Something about the way she moved, careful but deliberate, made him pause. As Lyra made her way through the station, she observed everything quietly. She noticed the irregular hum of the machinery, the gestures of the workers coordinating cargo, and the subtle tension in the air when a heavy crate almost fell from a hover lift. While the people around her barely reacted, she already calculated how to steady it, how to prevent it from hitting anyone. The crate teetered, then shifted dangerously. A young worker shouted, "Watch out!" and froze. Without hesitation, Lyra stepped forward. She pressed her hand lightly against the control panel of the hoverlift. The machinery responded to her touch in a strange way, almost as if it recognized her intentions. The crate slowed, then gently lowered to the floor. The worker stared in disbelief. How did you do that?" he stammered. Lyra simply smiled softly. "It was just a matter of understanding how it moves." She turned and continued on her path, as if nothing had happened. But Darian had seen everything. The calm in her movements, the quiet knowledge that allowed her to act while everyone else panicked. It was remarkable. Over the next few hours, Darian observed her more closely. He saw how she interacted with the environment, noting small details that most people overlooked. She adjusted the flow of coolant in a damaged pipe without anyone noticing. She corrected the path of a hovering drone heading toward a broken panel. And every time, she did it with such precision that the colony's workers started to whisper again. Not in doubt this time, but in awe. Still, despite her actions, people continued to treat her as fragile. They offered her seats when she didn't ask for them. They guided her away from dangerous areas, thinking they were protecting her. Lyra accepted the gestures politely but didn't need any of the help. She had faced harsher challenges than these. Her people's homeworld had not been kind. She had learned survival in ways that no one in this colony could imagine. Darian finally approached her during a break, when she was examining a small, malfunctioning device that the engineers had thrown aside as useless. "You have an unusual skill," he said gently. "Most people here can't even understand these devices." Lyra looked up, her eyes meeting his. There was a quiet intensity in them that made Darian feel as if she could see right through him. "Understanding comes from patience," she replied simply, "and attention to details others overlook." Darian nodded, smiling. "I can see that. I'm Darian. I think I may have underestimated you." She tilted her head slightly, a soft laugh escaping her lips. "Perhaps. But people often do." Their conversation was interrupted by a loud alarm. A cargo ship had malfunctioned in the docking bay, threatening to crash into the station. Panic spread through the area as workers shouted instructions at each other, their voices barely rising above the clanging of machinery. Most people froze, unsure of what to do. Some fled. Others tried to push cargo out of the way. But Lyra didn't hesitate. She ran toward the main control panel, her movements swift and precise, Her hands moved over the controls with skill and confidence. She recalculated trajectories, issued commands, and slowly, carefully, she stabilized the ship. The crowd watched in disbelief as the situation was resolved without injury or loss of cargo. Whispers filled the air. Who is she? How did she do that? She's not what she seems. Darian, however, knew. He had been observing her closely for hours. He had seen her strength, her intelligence, her ability to remain calm in the face of danger. He felt a quiet certainty grow inside him. She was not weak. She was extraordinary. After the immediate danger passed, Darian approached her again. That was impressive, he said. Most people would have panicked. Or worse. Lyra nodded, her expression calm. I have faced worse. Life often tests patience, more than strength. Darian studied her for a moment. He had met many extraordinary beings in his time, humans and aliens alike. But there was something different about Lyra. She was quiet, observant, and unassuming. Yet she had a presence that was undeniable. He felt a strange pull to know more about her, to understand her fully. Over the next few days, Darian found himself seeking her out. He observed her as she moved through the colony, noticing the small ways she helped others without drawing attention. She repaired broken machinery, guided lost settlers, and even mediated minor disputes with patience and insight. Everywhere she went, she left an impression. Even if most people didn't notice at first, the colony slowly began to talk about her differently. The whispers of weakness faded, replaced by admiration and curiosity, but there were still those who doubted her abilities, who clung to their first impressions. Darian didn't mind. He didn't need the opinions of others. He had seen the truth. He had seen who Lyra really was. One evening, as the twin suns of Virelia 7 dipped below the horizon, casting the colony in golden light, Darian found Lyra, standing alone on a viewing platform. She watched the stars, her posture relaxed but her eyes alert. You enjoy the stars, Darian said, joining her. They are constant, she replied softly. Even when everything else changes, they remain the same. They remind me that patience is always rewarded. Darian smiled, feeling a connection he had never felt with anyone else. I think you remind me of the stars, he said. Calm, steady, 1717, and stronger than anyone realizes. Lyra turned to him, a small smile playing on her lips. Perhaps, or perhaps I am only strong because I have learned to be. Darian nodded, understanding that strength came in many forms. Some people displayed it in muscles and force. Others, like Lyra, displayed it in intelligence, patience, and courage. He knew, without a doubt, that he had found someone extraordinary. That night, as the colony settled into quiet, Lyra's presence lingered in Darian's mind. He didn't see a frail alien girl. He saw a being of quiet power and resilience, a mind capable of incredible insight, and a heart that had survived challenges most could never imagine. And in that moment, he decided that he would learn everything about her, because he knew she was far more than anyone else could ever see. For Darian, it was the beginning of something new. An understanding that appearances could be deceiving, that true strength often came in unexpected forms, and that some beings, though small and unassuming, could change everything around them. And Lyra, unaware of the depth of his thoughts, continued to watch the stars, steady and serene, a quiet force in a bustling world that had yet to understand her. The days after the cargo ship incident passed quietly, but for Darian, they were far from ordinary. He found himself drawn to Lyra, intrigued by the way she moved through the colony with quiet confidence. Others still whispered about her small frame and delicate appearance, but he paid no attention to their words. What mattered to him was what he had seen: her intelligence, her courage, and her ability to stay calm when chaos erupted. Lyra, for her part, focused on learning about the colony. She observed its technology, studied the routines of the workers, and quietly solved problems that others ignored. Her hands moved with precision, adjusting machinery, repairing broken drones, and even recalibrating the energy flow of a solar panel array that had been malfunctioning for weeks. No one noticed her small interventions, but Darian did. He often followed her from a distance, marveling at her ability to make the complex seem simple. One morning, as the twin suns of Virelia 7 rose in soft hues of orange and gold, a message arrived at the colony's central command. A mining AI on the outskirts of the settlement had gone rogue. It had been programmed to extract rare minerals from the planet's surface, but a software error caused it to begin indiscriminately digging into inhabited zones. The news spread quickly, causing panic among the workers. Many feared that the AI's large automated diggers could destroy entire sections of the colony before anyone could stop it. Darian watched the chaos unfold. Engineers and security officers hurried to assess the situation, but confusion slowed their progress. Everyone looked worried, and many debated the best way to handle the problem. Lyra, however, stood quietly at the edge of the command center, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the AI's movement patterns. "Why don't you try to stop it?" Darian asked, surprised. "You've handled technology before, maybe you could help." Lyra turned toward him, her expression calm. "I will. But first, I need to understand how it thinks." She studied the AI's operational patterns, analyzing every data point, every movement of the diggers. Darian noticed how she tilted her head, how her fingers traced imaginary lines over the holographic display, as if she could feel the machine's logic inside her mind. While others debated and panicked, she remained serene, completely focused. Hours passed, and the AI continued its destructive path. Darian saw engineers attempting to shut it down manually, but the machine resisted their commands, adapting too quickly. The colony's morale began to falter, fear spreading faster than the machinery. Then Lyra stepped forward. Her hands moved over the control panel, tapping sequences of commands that no one had tried before. She spoke softly, almost as if speaking to the AI itself, her voice carrying an unusual authority. The diggers slowed, their erratic movements becoming more controlled. Lyra's eyes glimmered with concentration as she guided the machine, redirecting it safely away from inhabited zones. Within moments, the AI had stopped its destructive path completely. The colony's workers stood in stunned silence, unable to comprehend how she had done it. Darian watched, impressed but not surprised. He had begun to understand that Lyra's abilities went beyond intelligence. She could connect with technology in a way that felt natural, almost instinctive. While humans relied on tools and programming, she seemed to understand the logic and purpose behind them, bridging the gap between machine and mind effortlessly. After the crisis was over, Darian approached her again. "You saved the colony," he said, his voice low. "No one else could have done that." Lyra shook her head slightly, her blue eyes calm. "It was not about saving anyone. It was about understanding what needed to be done. Panic helps no one. Logic and patience do." Darian smiled, a quiet admiration growing inside him. He realized that her strength was not obvious to most people because it did not shout or demand attention. Instead, it worked silently, efficiently, and effectively. She was the kind of strength that changed outcomes without anyone noticing until it was too late to ignore. As the days passed, Darian and Lyra began to spend more time together. He shared stories of human exploration and survival, of how humanity had thrived in harsh environments across the galaxy. She listened intently, asking thoughtful questions and showing a genuine curiosity about human ingenuity. In return, Lyra shared stories of her homeworld, a planet far from the colonies, where her people lived in small, isolated communities. They had to survive in a harsh climate, facing natural disasters, limited resources, and frequent threats from predators unique to their planet. From a young age, she had learned how to adapt, how to solve problems creatively, and how to maintain composure under pressure. Darian was fascinated. He began to see parallels between her upbringing and human resilience. Both had learned to endure, to innovate, and to thrive against challenges. He realized that her appearance, the delicate frame, the soft voice, the quiet movements, was only a surface impression. Beneath it was a mind capable of extraordinary insight, and a spirit capable of immense courage. One afternoon, a situation arose that tested both her intelligence and her patience. A shipment of vital medical supplies had been delayed due to a navigation error on a supply shuttle. The colony's clinic faced shortages, and the medical officers panicked at the thought of running out of essential medicines. Darian suggested waiting for the next shipment, but Lyra shook her head. "Waiting will only worsen the problem," she said. "We need to solve this now." She examined the shipment logs and the shuttle's navigation records. Within an hour, she discovered a pattern in the shuttle's error, a small but critical misalignment in its docking calculations. She proposed a precise adjustment to the shuttle's course and coordinated with the pilots to implement it. The shipment arrived safely, and the medical supplies were delivered on time. The clinic staff, who had initially doubted her, were visibly impressed. Darian watched her with a mixture of pride and awe. He realized that Lyra's abilities were not about brute force or speed. They were about observation, understanding, and action at the exact right moment. She had a gift for seeing what others overlooked and using it to make a real difference. Despite these accomplishments, Lyra remained humble. She did not seek recognition or praise. She simply acted when necessary, guided by logic and empathy. Darian found this quality rare, even among humans. Many people wanted attention for their deeds. Lyra seemed content to work quietly, letting results speak for themselves. One evening, Darian invited Lyra to walk with him outside the colony. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The air was cool, carrying the scent of alien flora brought from the planet's surface into the colony's enclosed gardens. "You seem very calm," Darian said, watching her. "Even when things are difficult or dangerous." Lyra smiled softly. "Calmness is a choice," she replied. "Panic does not solve problems, focus does." Darian nodded. "It is amazing. Most people here see only your appearance. They don't see what you are capable of." "I know," she said quietly. "And that is acceptable. Not everyone is ready to understand." Darian felt a strange sense of admiration, not just for her abilities, but for her perspective on life. She did not seek approval or validation. She acted according to what she knew was right. He wondered how many people in the galaxy were like her, quietly brilliant, underestimated, yet capable of remarkable deeds. As they walked, Darian realized something else. He had begun to trust her judgment more than anyone else's. He knew that in any crisis, she would remain calm, assess the situation, and act wisely. Her strength complemented human ingenuity in a way that few could understand. He felt certain that together, they could face challenges no single being could manage alone. When they returned to the colony, Darian found himself thinking about Lyra constantly. He wanted to learn more about her, to understand the experiences that had shaped her, and to see what other hidden strengths she possessed. He realized that she was not just an extraordinary alien, she was someone who could teach humans as much as they could teach her. As night fell over Viewership 7, the colony quieted, and most people retired to their quarters. Darian stood by a window, looking out at the stars. He thought about Lyra and the events of the past week. He understood why she had been misjudged at first. Her strength was not loud or obvious. It was subtle, patient, and entirely effective. For the first time, he felt a deep respect for someone outside his own species. He knew that Lyra was capable of shaping not only her own destiny but the future of the colony itself. And in that knowledge, he also recognized the beginning of a bond, one built on trust, admiration, and the recognition of hidden strength. Darian smiled softly. For him, Lyra's presence was not just inspiring, it was a reminder that appearances could be deceiving, that quiet intelligence and courage were sometimes more powerful than visible strength, and that understanding the truth about someone could change everything. And Lyra, standing quietly in the gardens, observing the stars, remained as she always had. Serene, patient, and fully aware of the potential she carried within herself. The colony may not have fully understood her yet, but Darian already had, and that was enough for now. The colony of Virelia 7 had finally begun to settle into a rhythm. The initial chaos of new arrivals, technical glitches, and daily challenges had subsided. And for a while, it seemed as though life could continue peacefully. Darian often found himself walking through the colony with Lyra, observing the subtle ways she improved life for everyone around her. Workers noticed her quiet interventions, engineers began to rely on her insights, and even the children of the colony looked up to her as a source of wonder. Yet peace was always temporary in the stars. A warning came from the outer monitoring stations. An unknown fleet of ships was approaching Virelia 7. Their movements were calculated and deliberate, but their intentions were unclear. The Colony Council called an emergency meeting. The threat was unprecedented. No one knew if these ships were scouts, traders, or invaders. Panic began to spread, even among those who had experienced previous crises. Darian watched as the council argued, voices rising and falling with fear and uncertainty. Military officers suggested preparing defenses, while engineers debated the capability of their systems. Supplies were checked, weapons readied, and the colony began to brace itself. Yet even amid this chaos, Darian's eyes sought Lyra. She had been calm through every previous crisis. If anyone could assess the situation without succumbing to fear, it was her. Lyra stood at the edge of the command center, observing the incoming fleet through the colony's long-range sensors. Her expression remained serene. "We should not act without understanding their intentions," she said softly. "Panic will only make the situation worse." "Do you know what they want?" Darian asked, moving to her side. "I do not," she replied, "but I can learn. I can observe their signals, their formation, and determine what they are capable of. Then we can respond intelligently, not impulsively." The next hours were tense. Lyra worked tirelessly with the communication and sensor teams, analyzing the data streaming from the approaching fleet. Darian watched her, noticing how she could process enormous amounts of information with ease. She identified patterns that others could not see: the speed of the ships, the energy signatures of their weapons, the timing of their maneuvers. While the council debated in panic, Lyra remained calm, mapping out the situation with clarity. Finally, she spoke. "They are not coming to negotiate. These ships are prepared for battle. But their formation is unusual. They are organized, but their tactics are predictable. If we act carefully, we can defend the colony without unnecessary risk." Darian felt a surge of admiration. Most humans would have panicked at the thought of an alien fleet threatening their home. Yet Lyra's calm, intelligent assessment gave him hope. He realized that her perspective, the combination of observation, understanding, and foresight, was exactly what the colony needed. The council reluctantly agreed to follow Lyra's guidance. She organized teams to strengthen defenses, reroute essential resources, and establish communication channels that could mislead the approaching fleet. Engineers and soldiers worked tirelessly, guided by her quiet but firm instructions. Darian assisted her, coordinating human teams and ensuring that her strategies were implemented efficiently. As the first ships entered the colony's orbit, tension escalated. The fleet moved with precision, their weapons powered, but not yet fired. The colony's defense drones hummed to life, forming a shield around critical structures. Lyra's eyes scanned the display, anticipating the enemy's moves before they happened. She predicted the fleet's trajectory, adjusting the drone's positions and timing with astonishing accuracy. When the first volley of weapons was fired, the drones intercepted them perfectly. Many of the colony's residents watched from safe observation points, gasping in awe at the precision of the defense. No one had expected such efficiency from what they had once considered a fragile alien girl. Darian stood beside Lyra, sharing a quiet moment of understanding. "You're extraordinary," he said, his voice low. "No one else could have done this." Lyra shook her head, her expression calm. "I am not extraordinary. I am simply prepared, and I observe. That is all." Despite her modesty, the truth was undeniable. Lyra's strategic mind and quick thinking had saved countless lives. Her presence had turned panic into coordinated action, and the colony's defenses were stronger because of her guidance. But the battle was far from over. The fleet was larger than expected, and their tactics grew more aggressive. One of the enemy ships broke formation, heading directly toward the colony's central power hub. If it succeeded, the entire colony would be plunged into darkness, disabling defense systems and life support. Without hesitation, Lyra directed a small strike team, including Darian, to intercept the ship. They boarded a fast response craft and raced toward the target. The journey was tense, every second critical. Lyra's hands moved over the controls with precision, guiding the ship through the debris and energy blasts from the enemy fleet. As they approached the target, Darian prepared for the worst. "Are you sure this will work?" he asked, gripping his seat. Lyra's blue eyes met his, calm and steady. "Trust the plan. We have calculated every possibility. Follow my lead." The strike team engaged the rogue ship. Lyra's strategy was simple but brilliant. Instead of attacking directly, she used the environment to her advantage, guiding the ship into a trajectory that would neutralize its energy core without destroying it entirely. The enemy ship's power systems failed, and it drifted harmlessly away from the colony, disabled but intact. The strike team returned to the colony as heroes, though Darian knew that Lyra deserved the credit for the plan. The council officially recognized her efforts, though many in the crowd still struggled to accept that someone so small and gentle could be so capable. In the aftermath, Darian and Lyra walked through the colony together. The streets were alive with celebration, though the tension of the near disaster lingered in everyone's minds. Children waved at the strike team, and settlers whispered stories of Lyra's brilliance. Yet even in the midst of admiration, Lyra remained composed, her focus already shifting to the next challenge. "You did well today," Darian said, walking beside her. "Not just the battle, but everything, the planning, the coordination. You saved the colony." "I only acted as needed," she replied softly. "The outcome was never in my hands alone. Everyone played a role." Darian smiled. "Still, you were the mind behind it. Without you, we would have lost more than just resources. We could have lost lives." She looked at him, her eyes thoughtful. "Perhaps, but the future is never certain. We act to shape it as best we can." As they continued walking, Darian realized that Lyra's philosophy was one of patience and observation, combined with decisive action when necessary. It was a quality he admired deeply, and one he rarely encountered even among humans. He began to see her, not just as an ally, but as someone who could inspire an entire generation of settlers. Days passed, and the colony slowly returned to normal. Lyra continued her quiet interventions, improving systems, helping settlers, and quietly teaching those willing to learn. Darian spent more time with her, discussing strategies, philosophies, and the potential for humans and aliens to work together. He saw a vision of a future where intelligence, patience, and courage were valued above appearances, and where cooperation between species could create something greater than either alone. Yet challenges continued. Small attacks from rogue groups, technical failures, and environmental hazards reminded everyone that life on Virelia 7 was never completely safe. But with Lyra's guidance and Darian's support, the colony faced each trial with growing confidence. People began to see the value of intellect, observation, and calm action, the very qualities Lyra embodied. One evening, as they observed the twin suns setting, Darian turned to her. "You know, most people would never guess how strong you are. They only see what's on the surface. And yet strength is not always what people see," Lyra replied quietly. "True strength is in action, not appearance." Darian smiled. "Then I suppose we make a good team. You provide the strength and guidance, and I try to keep up." Lyra's soft smile reflected both amusement and understanding. "We complement each other. That is all that matters." For Darian, that was enough. He had witnessed her brilliance, her courage, and her wisdom. He knew that, together, they could face anything the galaxy might throw at them. And as night fell over Virelia 7, the stars shining above in silent witness. He felt a deep sense of respect and admiration for the alien girl, who everyone once called weak and frail. She was anything but. The next morning came with a calm sky. But Reed felt a storm moving inside him. The events of the last days were not easy to forget. The threats, the chase, the moment Solani collapsed, and the truth about her powers, everything rose and fell inside his chest like a tide that refused to settle. Solani walked slowly beside him as they stepped out of the safe house. She looked better now. Her face had color again. Her eyes were brighter. And her steps were stronger. Even then, Reed kept glancing at her every few seconds, as if afraid she might fall again. "I'm okay," she whispered with a gentle smile. "I know," he said, "but I'm still checking." Solani's smile grew softer. She liked the way he cared for her. It made her heart feel warm in a way she had never known before. Warm like a home she had always wanted but never had. Outside, the streets were silent, too silent for a city that was normally full of noise. Reed sensed something unusual in the air, and Solani sensed it too. The energy fields around them were shifting. Like pressure before a storm, Solani stopped walking. "They are coming," she said. Reed turned toward her. "Who?" Before she could answer, the sky cracked with a deep humming sound. A large shadow passed over the buildings. Reed looked up, and his breath caught. A massive ship, twice the size of any human-built cruiser, was descending from the clouds. It was shaped like a silver crescent, glowing with blue lines that pulsed like veins. Solani closed her eyes. "My people." Reed stepped closer to her. "Are they here to take you back?" She opened her eyes slowly. "No. They are here because they sensed my power awakening. They think it means danger. They think I cannot control myself." Reed's eyes hardened. "But you can. You proved it." Solani shook her head. "They will not believe so easily." A blast of wind blew across the street as the alien ship landed on a wide platform nearby. The ground trembled under their feet. Reed put his hand on Solani's shoulder to steady her. She looked up at him, and for a moment, she felt completely safe. But the moment did not last long. A group of tall figures stepped out of the ship. They were armored in shining silver, carrying staffs that glowed with soft light. Their eyes were bright like Solani's, but their expressions were hard and cold. One stepped forward. His voice echoed with authority. "Princess Solani, Protectorate of Lyrian, first heir of the Celestia line. You will come with us immediately." Reed blinked. "Princess?" Solani lowered her gaze. "I did not want you to see me like this," she whispered. "As something distant, something royal, something, not the girl you married." Reed stepped in front of her, surprising even the alien guards. "Doesn't matter what they call you," he said. "You are still Solani, my Solani." Her breath shook at his words, but she held on to them tightly. The leader of the alien guards frowned. "Human, step aside. You have no place in this matter." "I'm not stepping anywhere," Reed said. The aliens raised their staffs. Solani gasped and rushed forward. "Stop! Do not hurt him," she cried. The leader pointed his staff at her. "Your power has awakened too early. The council fears you are unstable. You must be contained." Solani froze. Her eyes widened with shock and fear. "No. I'm not dangerous. I can control it." Reed helped me, but they did not listen. Two guards moved toward her. Reed reacted instantly. He grabbed Solani's hand and pulled her behind him. "Stay back," he said to the guards. They aimed their staffs at him. Solani's heart clenched in terror. "Reed? No." Reed raised his hand slowly. "Listen to me. She is not a threat. She saved your scouts. She saved me. She saved everyone here. We do not take orders from a human," the leader said coldly. Reed clenched his jaw. "I'm not giving orders. I'm telling you the truth." But the guards were not moved. They stepped forward again. Solani trembled, torn between fear and rising anger. She did not want to hurt her own people, but she would protect Reed, Reed noticed her hand glowing with rising power. He turned quickly and held her shoulders. "Solani, don't," he whispered. "Not unless we have no choice." She shook her head. "I cannot lose you." "You won't." The ground shook suddenly. A wave of energy burst from the sky like a silent explosion. The guards stopped. Their staffs dimmed. The clouds above twisted into a swirling dome of shimmering silver. Solani gasped. "The council! They are watching." Another figure appeared at the top of the ship's ramp. Taller than the others, wearing flowing robes of deep blue. His face was kind, but burdened with heavy responsibility. "Solani," he said gently. Solani's eyes widened. "Father," Reed swallowed hard. The king of her people was standing right in front of him. The king stepped forward slowly. His gaze fell on Reed for a moment, then returned to Solani. "You have changed since you left us," the king said softly. Solani nodded. "I found a life here. A life I chose." The king looked at Reed again. With him, Solani stepped forward. "Father, Reed is my husband. I chose him because he saw who I am, not what I am." End quote. Reed stood tall, meeting the king's gaze. He did not bow, but he also did not challenge. The king studied him silently. The moment stretched long and tense. Then he spoke. "You awakened your power early. Do you understand what that means?" Solani nodded slowly. "It means I am ready. It means I can protect people." Her father sighed. "Or it means the universe will fear you." Reed stepped in. "She doesn't have to face that alone. I'm with her." The king raised an eyebrow. "A human? You are fragile, short-lived, easily broken." "Maybe," Reed said, "but humans don't run away. Not when something matters." The king tilted his head slightly, surprised at Reed's courage. A long silence followed. Finally, the king looked at Solani again. "If you remain with him, your life will change forever. You will face trials our people never will. You will be hunted, feared, challenged. You may never return home." Solani stepped closer to Reed and held his hand. "I know." The king watched their joined hands. A small, soft smile touched his lips. "You have grown," he whispered to her. "More than I expected." He turned to the guards. "Stand down." The guards lowered their staffs instantly. Solani let out a shaky breath of relief. Reed squeezed her hand. The king continued. "Solani, you are free to stay with your chosen partner. But before I return to our world, I must witness your control." Solani lifted her chin. "I can show you." The king nodded. "Then show me." 7. Solani stepped forward. Reed moved back slightly but stayed close enough to catch her if she faltered. Solani closed her eyes. The wind around her stilled. Her hair lifted gently as a soft glow wrapped around her like a veil of silver light. Reed held his breath. The light grew brighter. Energy danced around her fingertips like sparks of stars. The ground hummed under their feet. Even the guards looked impressed. Solani opened her eyes again, glowing with calm power. She raised her hand gently, and a small orb of light formed above her palm. It rotated softly, shining like a miniature sun. She controlled its movement. Effortlessly slow, smooth, steady. Then she closed her fingers, and the light vanished soundlessly. The wind stopped. The glow faded. Solani stood still, breathing evenly. Her father nodded with deep pride. "You have control. And you have a heart strong enough to guide it." Solani's eyes softened. "Thank you, Father." The king stepped closer to Reed. "You protect her with courage," he said. "Few would stand before our guards the way you did." Reed shrugged lightly. "I wasn't trying to show courage. I was just trying to keep her safe." The king smiled. "That is why she chose you." Solani moved to Reed's side. The king placed his hand on her shoulder gently. "Farewell for now, my daughter. May your path be bright." Solani touched his hand. "Goodbye, father." The king returned to the ship. The guards followed. The engines glowed bright, and the giant ship rose slowly into the sky. Within moments, it vanished into the clouds. Silence returned. Solani leaned in to Reed, letting out a breath she had been holding for hours. Reed wrapped his arms around her gently. "You did it," he whispered. "No," she said softly. "We did it." They stood there for a long moment, holding each other under the quiet sky. The danger was gone. The fear was gone. The doubt was gone. Solani finally had a place she belonged, and Reed finally had the partner he had always wanted. They walked forward together toward a future that was bright, uncertain, challenging, and full of adventure. But they were ready, because he chose her, and she chose him, and together, they were unstoppable.